Hello and welcome to my channel, Making Crafts. Today I'm going to be creating 3 different cards using 3 different die sets that I have. And this die set I have used in the past. They have kind of a quilted look to them, and that's why I really like them. I like that it has so many different pieces and it makes an easy quilted look for a card. So I received these dies back in the fall, and so I created a set of file cards with them. And then when Christmas rolled around, I decided to create some Christmas cards using this die set. And then, now that it's become spring and summer, I thought it would be fun to create some summery type cards using this die set. So it's 3 separate dies. So today I'm starting out first with this one, which I'll call the Heart Quilt die. Now that's probably not the correct name that's in the shop, so I will link below to these dies. It will be my affiliate link. It's no extra charge to you, but it does help out my channel when you use that link to shop. So what I'm doing first is I start out by choosing which papers I do want to use for my card. And then I lay them out in the order that I want them to be when they go around that heart. So you can see there's like a raise that goes around the heart. So I lay them out in the order that I want them to be when they're going around the heart. And then I just pick up each die and put it on my paper. And so I'm just taping it down with a little bit of washi tape. And I want to be sure that I have them in the correct order, because I want to, have them so that you have each paper. So when you see the first one there with the dots, you have that one, and then you'll have the one with the strawberries with the dark navy background. Then you'll have the plaid, and then you'll have the white strawberries, the white background with the strawberries. And so I just continue to do that all the way around the heart. So the way I'm just doing this is I'm picking up the die and putting it on my cardstock so that I don't get confused on which one is next. And I find this is an easier way to put this together. So I'm just going to lay all of those out, and I'll just keep picking up the next die and just going in that order. And I think that makes it easier, so you really don't have to think about it, about which one goes next. And so what I like to do is I like to lay them all out so that then I can just run everything through the die cut machine at one time, and it's super quick and super simple. So when I order anything for dies and craft supplies, I try to choose something that I can use repeatedly. So I don't want it to be for just one season or just for one, for one type of card. So, of course, I do own a lot of things for Christmas because I love making Christmas cards and Christmas journals and Christmas mini albums. So I do pull those back out each year. But for everything, you can't just buy for one season. So I like to buy something so that I can use it over and over many different ways. It has many different looks. And each time you create it, you come up with something totally different. And that's what these dies are like. So they have the same design in the dies, and you'll see that each one of these die sets is a little different and a little bit of different design. But when you create your cards, yes, you're going to have the same quilted design, but it looks so different with each season, especially when you get through with all of your different papers. And then when you go to decorate the front, it looks really good. And it looks very different. So I love something like this where I can get a lot of use out of it. Now these dies are very inexpensive, and I have ordered from Inlovearts. So this is a collab with Inlovearts with this die set. But when I started collabing with them, it wasn't until I had been ordering from them for several years. And so I wanted to make sure that the dies worked great and everything. And I want to make sure that, you want to check out each company before you collab. And so I decided to start collabing with this company, and I really love their dies. I have never been disappointed. They all work great. Now with this die set, I did have someone question in one of my videos, in the comments, someone asked about these not cutting, and I can't imagine they didn't cut. So what I want to say is, with this die set, this style, you have to be very careful. So one side is flat and smooth, and then the other side will have a little bit of a ridge sticking up. That little ridge sticking up is what does the cutting. So if you're not careful, you may flip it over the wrong way, and then it won't cut, of course, because the smooth side. So you can see here when I put this on the red cardstock, you can see that the smooth side is facing up, and the side that has all the ridges, you'll just feel ridges in the bottom, that side is what's going to cut. And really, to me, it's amazing that any steel dies like this cut, because the ridge is very small and it's not sharp, except when you run it through the machine, it cuts through the paper. So that's the only thing I can figure out why it wouldn't cut. And of course, if you have any trouble with your dies or any of your products, you can contact Inlovearts. Several years ago, which I guess back in 2020 is when I first started ordering from them, and something was left out of my package by accident, and they were great to work with, and it got sent to me. So they are a really good company so far for me to work with. And so hopefully if you decide to order from them, you will have just as good luck as I did. And I'm coming from the perspective of a customer first and now collabing with them. So it's not like I was collabing with them and they were just sending the stuff at first. So I want you to know that I did test the company out at first. But all of the dies are very inexpensive, and they have a great selection of dies, and every month they come out with new ones. So I have really enjoyed being part of these collabs with them. So you can see here now, I'm just going to lay all of my pieces, as many as I can get, onto my platform here, because I like to try and cut as many things out at one time as I can. So since I cut these onto little pieces of paper, I think I can get most of these cut out with just one pass through. So I did get all of these on here. So now I'll just run it through my machine. And I wanted you to see it go through the machine. This is a very awkward position for me to use my machine, but I wanted you to be able to see how these are done, how you run it through. In case you do not have a die cut machine and you're very curious about die cutting, then I want you to see how you do this. It's very simple, just running it through the machine. Now, I had a Sizzix Big Shot back in the fall when I first got these, and they work just as great with my Sizzix Big Shot as they're working with my Spellbinders Platinum 6. So the only reason I got a new one is because my other one was about 15 years old, and so I decided I wanted to get a newer machine. And you know, it is a little bit tighter and works a little bit better now, just cutting things out. I don't have to run, but maybe, you know, just run one pass through. So I've got all of my pieces here, so I'm just collecting them all from the dies. So if you've seen my video in the past, I cut these and laid them out one at a time so that I knew where all the pieces go. Since I've been using this die set for quite a while now, I've gotten used to all of the pieces, so I don't have to do that. But if you are new to this type of die, be sure to check out those videos so you can see how I laid those out at the beginning before I actually had used it enough that I just know where the pieces go. So I've cut my background piece. The background piece that I cut for this one measures, I think I was cutting around 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue my frame. Now be sure when you cut your piece, the first time I got these dies, I didn't realize sometimes that frame will get, you know, stuck in the back of the die. So you just have to use your little pokey tool and press it out. And it's a very thin little piece, so be real careful getting that out of your die. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just adding that to this cardstock piece that I cut out. Now, if you wanted to, I could just leave it like that with the extra edge around. But what I'm going to do is just bring it back to my paper trimmer, and I just trim a little bit off so that it's even around the whole edge. I find it easier to do the trimming for me than trying to lay it down centered in that piece of cardstock. So of course I cut the cardstock quite a bit bigger than what I need, about probably 1/8 of an inch or so bigger than what I need around all edges, so that I can come back and just trim it off. And I just use my guide on my paper cutter so that every edge has the same amount of paper around it. And so I find that's easier. If you're fine with just eyeballing the center and you just gluing it down, then you could do that as well. But for me, this was the easiest way. So now it's just time to lay all of our pieces in. So before I start gluing, I do gather all of my pieces and just dry fit them onto the card. One reason for that is when I lay them out, if for some reason I don't like a piece beside another one, I just can go back and recut my pieces before it's all glued down. So I do like just to lay it out and take a look and see how everything looks. And I'm really liking all of these colors together. I really thought that this looked very summery. And I love the reds and greens together. So you can see there on the right hand side the two small little pieces that I did not remove those from my frame die because I felt as though they were too small. I was afraid that I would lose them. So what I do is I just go back and choose two pieces of paper that I want to use, and I'm just going to cut it down really small, and I'll just add it to the back of the die, and then I'll run it through my machine. At the very beginning when I got these in the fall, I felt if I trimmed those out, then they would get lost. And I think in my craft room, they definitely would, because I'm a very messy crafter when I get to doing these things. So I wanted to be sure that I kept up with them. So it's really very simple just to add the little piece in there for each one. And so I have no issue doing that. If you want to cut yours out, you could. But for me, this was the easiest way. And it's worked out fine each time I've made a card. Also, I will put on the screen here, but I have a discount code to the Inloveartshop, and so it is Susan25, and you will just use that at checkout. So if you decide to order, be sure to use that coupon code because you get 25% off of your order. So I'm just adding the tiny little pieces in, and then I'm just going to go through, pick up each piece and glue it. And when you glue it, you want to just try centering it up between the lines there. So you have the green background, but you want to just center your little cardstock up between the red lines. So I've gone ahead and die cut out some flowers, but this die set I ordered back in 2020, but I did look in the shop and they do still have this set of dies, and it has all kinds of flowers. So this is just one of the flowers that comes in this die, and I thought that this flower looked a lot like the flower on my background paper, so that's why I chose to use it. So what I'm doing is I cut it out of a really light pink, but then I decided to come back in and just ink the edges just to add a little bit more design to those edges, or a little bit more, not design, but a little bit more color to those flowers. And so I just wanted those to pop a little bit more. So I've added the little centers to them, and I colored those in with some yellow ink as well. And then I'm just layering these up around the little heart. And the die set also comes with this greenery, so I'm just going to tuck the greenery in underneath the flowers as well. And I'm not gluing the greenery all the way down. I'm letting the top of it stick up from the card, but I'm gluing the bottom part underneath the flowers. So it just adds a little bit more dimension to the card. Then I'm just going to come in with my stamp set here, and it has the happy birthday on it. So I'm going to stamp that onto some light pink cardstock as well. The same kind of cardstock that I used for the flowers. And I'm just going to use a little bit of red ink to stamp that. And at first I thought I wanted to make a banner out of this. So you can see that I stamped over to the far left edge, but then I decided just to trim it off and just make a little piece of, just make a little rectangle here that says happy birthday. I finally didn't want a banner on it. And so then I love how it's looking, but I think I want to add a little bit of bling. So I'm just going to come in with some pink pearls, and I'm going to add one on each corner of the happy birthday. And then I will add some of the white pearls to the center of my flowers. And I'm really happy with how this card turned out. I think that it looks very summery. I also forgot to add for that card, I did layer it onto a white card background. So for this one, this is another one of the dies that I absolutely love that creates a quilt look onto your card. But for this one, it's mainly just triangles. So you can see here, you got different size triangles. So I've gone ahead and laid out all my pieces, and I laid them out once again and then run them all through the machine so I could get through it pretty quickly. And then here is our frame piece that I'm just going to glue down to. I have a blue frame that I'm gluing down to some yellow cardstock. And once again, I'm doing just like I did with the other one. I'm just trimming the edges off. I just cut my cardstock once again about 6 or 5 3/4 by 4 1/4, 4 1/2, something like that. And then I will trim it down once I have my frame glued on. I just find that this is easier. Now with these triangles that's with this one, once again, I have another video of how I laid all the pieces out because they're not interchangeable because they're different sizes for each space. So if you are new to this die, you may want to watch that video and lay your pieces out like I did for that for the first few times. But once you get used to using the die, you'll automatically know where the pieces go. And it's pretty simple to lay those into the spots that they go in. So I've just, once again, dry fitted everything to make sure I like the looks. I like where all of my papers are and make sure that everything kind of blends and nothing looks out of place. And then I'm just going to go through and glue all of these triangles into their spot. These cards come together really quickly. If you're like me and you love die cutting, it's a lot of fun. Even though it's so many pieces, I really love die cutting. So something about running it through that machine. Okay, so here is another die from Inlovearts, and this is the Hope, Faith, and Love die, and it has these little daisies on it. And so what I've decided to do is to cut out the daisies, cut the wording off of them, and just use the flowers. And then you've got the little centers that you cut out as well. So I'm just inking all of those centers with yellow. And so I thought these went really well with the paper that I had. So I thought that the daisies on the paper looked a lot like these flowers. So I've gone ahead and cut out 6 of the flowers because I'm going to layer 2 on top of each other to create 3 different flowers. But before I layer them, I'm just coming in with a little bit of light blue ink, and I'm just inking around the edges of the flowers just to give them a little bit of color so they're not just so stark white. Because if you look in my paper, the daisies on there have a little bit of blue and a little bit of green on them. So I wanted to kind of mimic what was in the paper. And then I'm just going to fluff up some of the edges so they have a lot of dimension so that the top flower and the bottom flower don't just stick together. So then I'm just going to add my card front to a white card base. Well, this one is more of a, there's a little speckle of blue in it. So I thought it looked really good with this one. It's mainly white with a little speckle of blue. And so this is not actually an A2 card. It's just white cardstock. And so how I'm using these cards is they're more like note cards. I love to put a card like this if I have a package or something and I want to send somebody a note. You use the whole back side of the card to write your note, and then you have the beautiful front. So it really doesn't open up like a card. So today the cards I'm making are like that because that's a style of card that I like to create sometimes and I like to use. So then I'm just going to attach my daisies to the front of my card. And it's just that simple. And then you have a beautiful note card to send. So I'm not going to put a sentiment on this one since the note that I write will be on the back side. And there may just not even be a sentiment that I need. It'll just be something that I send someone. So now I'm back with the next die. So you can see this by looking at the frame. I forgot to show you what the die looks like, but looking at the frame here, you can see that this one has rays going around a circle. That's the best way for me to explain it. It's different shapes going around. The main center is a circle. So I've gone ahead and cut out the frame, and I've cut out the pieces. And I'm just using a yellow plaid background for this one. And then I'm just gluing down my pieces. Now this one I didn't dry fit, but really you should dry fit it first because you may decide that part of the way through you don't like the colors. But I had been using all of these colors, for the first card that I made, and some of this cardstock came from also the second card, and I knew that I liked all of these colors together, so I am just gluing them down for this one. And you can see here you have your different shapes. This one's fairly simple. If you need to lay it out so you know where all your pieces go, you could, watch my previous video. But this one, the pieces seem to be a little bit interchangeable from, you have 2 of each shape, and it doesn't really seem to matter which one it goes in. It seems to go fine. So you have 2 little triangles and then 2 larger triangles. So this one was really easy to put together as well. And this one's easier because all of the shapes are so different that it's not like the one before with the triangles that you really need to lay it out so you know where each one goes. So I'm just going to layer this card front onto a yellow card base. And so what I do is I just measure, since I did this one the same, I trimmed it down just like I did with all the other ones. So what I do for the back card base that I'm putting it on, I just measured what size my card front is that I've created, the decorative part that I've created, and then just add 1/4 of an inch to that measurement. So, you know, if it measures 4 inches, then you want to cut your base 4 1/4. And then if it measures, I think this one measured like 5 1/2, so I cut it 5 3/4 for the background piece. So here are some butterfly dies from Inlovearts as well. Like I said before, I'll try to link below to all of these products. So what I'm doing is using some of the paper that I had on the front of this card for the little triangles, and I'm cutting out the butterflies. These butterflies have a lot of little bitty pieces, and it's one of those intricate dies, so you want to bring out any tools that you have that help you to clean out these little pieces. And if you don't have that tool that I have, you can always just use, you know, your little pokey tool and poke out all the pieces. So then next what I'm going to do is I like the background pattern on this, but it's not going to be dark enough to actually pop on the card. So I'm going to come in with some pink, and I'm starting out with a lighter pink, and I'm just going to ink the butterflies and see if that feels dark enough for me to stand out on the card. And it is a little bit light, so I am going to go through and add darker pink, and I will ink again to get more of a darker butterfly. But I'm not going to use these butterflies all stuck together like that. I think that would be too much for this card and really cover up our quilted pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim out a few of the butterflies so that I can use them separately. So I'm going to keep some of them together. I just want to lay it out to see how it looks. And I can tell that I want to trim some of these apart. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to trim off. Because you can see here it's a little bit too busy. So I'm just going to go in and cut off one of the butterflies here. And I think I'll use just one at the top. And then I'm just going to come down here at the bottom. And I like to do things in threes. So I'm going to trim one of the butterflies off of this grouping of 3 so that I only have 3 butterflies on my card instead of 4. I've just got to decide which one I'm going to get rid of and which 2 I'm going to keep. So I'm just deciding now. And once I have that figured out, I'm just going to trim off the excess butterfly. I just want to shape up the edge at the bottom there where I did trim it off. And then I think those really stand out on the card, and I love how they look. So I've gone ahead and cut out more of those flowers in the light pink like I used for a previous card. And I'm going to possibly use those on the front. I'm just laying everything out first, just testing it to see if I like the looks of it. And I'm going to go ahead and add pearls because I know I want pearls on the flowers if I use them. And I want pearls on my butterflies. So I'm going to add the pearls to the center of the flowers and to the center of my butterflies. And so I'm going to glue in the butterflies down because I know I want to use those. And I'm thinking maybe once I get the butterflies laid down, it'll make it easier to decide if I want to include the flowers or not. I don't want it to be too busy, but I do want it to be pretty, and I want it to look very summery. So I want to be sure that I have enough decoration on it, but not too much. And once again, I'm using this one as more of a note card. So this will not be I can turn it into a birthday card if I decide I want to, but this one, the wording will be on the back, and I'll probably just write a note on the back. So I am going to just keep this one without any sentiment on the front so that I can use this one any way that I want. And if I decide later on that I want it to be a birthday card and I want it to be, you know, a card that opens up, then I can always add it to a card front then. But a lot of times, like I said, I like sending this style card as well. So I've just left it like this. Now I will come back and add a white piece of paper to the back of the card so that it is easy to write a note on it. But I'll give you a trick. Sometimes what I do is I wait. When I make these cards up, I make them up. And then when I'm ready to send it, I write the note. I cut the white cardstock out. I write the note on the cardstock, and then I glue it. Because sometimes I mess up writing or I'm not happy with my handwriting. So it gives me a chance to redo it if I need to, and then glue it onto the back of the card. So you'll have your card made up. You'll just need to do the white cardstock later on. And I find that it's easier that way, and it's not as much pressure, especially since I have these pearls on here. It's going to be hard to write a note on the back now that I have the pearls, so it's better to just add the white cardstock later. Now I did decide to go ahead and add some white cardstock to create a frame around the front here. So I could write on the back of this one, but I don't have to. I can just bring another piece of cardstock and layer that on the back if I want to. But after looking at it, I felt like it needed something to frame it out. So I did come back with some white cardstock for that. And I did decide to add the flowers. And I really love how this one turned out. I hope that you have enjoyed seeing these. I'm going to go ahead and show you all of the cards now, but I hope that you have enjoyed seeing me create these cards. I hope that I've given you some ideas on how to use these dies, and I hope that I've inspired you to start creating. Also, if you do decide to shop at Inlovearts, I would really appreciate you using my affiliate link below, as well as my coupon code Susan25. You get 25% off, and it does help out my channel when you use the coupon code. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.